Have you been feeling lately that you don't want to pray? You love God, but it's been a real struggle to even pray. And you don't know why. Like, you know you should be doing it, but you don't know why the fight is so hard and the struggle is so real. If that's you, this episode is made just for you. And I believe strongly that God's going to give you some answers today. Welcome to the Unstuck Podcast. This is Drew Cross. As always, my co-host might come in, which she's asleep right now, but she might come in, so beware. This is I never really do a podcast at this time of night. It's actually like 10:15, but I was prompted by the Lord to come and share this with you guys. One of the main reasons why you're fought with this spirit of, I don't want to pray, I don't feel like praying, I'm too down, I'm too heavy, I don't feel like it, is because the enemy knows there's something ahead, and he knows if you get the revelation from God and you get the answers from God, or you get the next step to make, that it's going to be massive. It's going to lead to massive breakthrough. Whenever there's massive breakthrough ahead, there's usually massive deception. And deception isn't always what we think to be like sexual sin or some sin. The deception is usually something that you would normally do, such as prayer, is not working, or it's not worth it. And you may not verbally say that out loud, but your actions will let you know if you believe it or not by, are you praying or not? Now, I would always suggest to people, try to get into a regimen of praying. And the reason why I say that is because eventually you want your feelings to be, you want your regimen to override your feelings. You're not going to always want to or feel like praying, but we want to get to a place where this is just what I do. As breathing, brushing my teeth, it's what I do. Now, let's look at what the Bible talks about in Ephesians, talking about we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. That's Ephesians 6. We know that if we are not wrestling against humans, and we're wrestling against spiritual wickedness in high places and rulers of the darkness of this world, we know that we have to be in a place of prayer. And the enemy knows, if I allow them to get into a place of prayer consistently, even when they don't feel like it, they're going to figure out what I'm trying to do, and they'll be able to defeat that. The second thing we want to look at also is the Bible talks about in 2 Corinthians 10 that the weapons of our warfare, they're not carnal. And right now, the culture is pushing everything but seeking God. The culture is pushing breath work, meditation, energy, all types of healing. People are now calling themselves healers. I'm not trying to go into that tonight, but the culture, you have to realize the culture is not Jesus. And the culture is not the path that Jesus is telling us to go and follow. He talks about in Romans 12:2, be not conformed to this world. What does he mean by that? It's not necessarily what they're wearing. It's more so following the culture and what they're doing to get a result that only God can give you in the spirit. So the enemy knows, if I get you to be in a place where you don't want to pray, you'll probably start picking up what the culture does to solve a spiritual matter, which, if we dissect it deep enough, the matter is not solved if it's not solved in the spirit realm. The enemy knows now, if you find out that these weapons that are against you are weapons that can be defeated in prayer, that you'll go pray. You'll go pray when you don't feel like it. You'll go press through. You'll go into warfare prayer when you don't feel like it's actually working. When you're tired, the Bible talks about Satan wanting to deceive the saints, Satan wanting to wear out the saints. All tiredness isn't just because of lack of sleep. Some tiredness is because there's demonic forces against you, and demonic forces against what the message of Christ is and what you are sent to go do. If there's breakthrough ahead, demonic forces will come because they don't want you to get that. So we know these things now. You like, Drew, I've heard these scriptures 1,000 times. But the other way, or other thing I want to bring to light is, you don't feel like praying usually because you are in a place of discouragement. You're in a place of always feeling overwhelmed, a place of always feeling that things are not panning out the way they should be panning out, a place of feeling like I've been talking to God, He's been radio silent, He hasn't been answering my prayers, He hasn't been showing me stuff, and I've been before Him. But what if I told you you are praying and those prayers were working? What if I told you He may not have answered the exact way you wanted Him to, but it got answered? There's been so many times in my life where I've cried to God, cried out, asking Him for advice, for help, and the answer He would give would be nothing what I was praying about, and all of a sudden, it would start to line up and make sense. So I would tell you, bring your discouragement to the cross, bring your discouragement to the feet of Jesus, bring your depression to the feet of Jesus. Tell Him exactly what you feel. I feel discouraged. I feel you left me. I feel beaten. And then after that, ask Him to minister back to your heart. We think sometimes if we feel these feelings that we should just keep internalizing them versus bringing ourselves and our feelings back to Jesus. He has the answers. He has the ability to reveal what's next. He also has the ability to minister back to our spirits. One of the scriptures in the Bible that I love is Luke 4. When Jesus finishes being tempted by the enemy, the Bible talks about angels came and ministered to Him. And other scriptures and chapters, after Jesus would finish his day or just finish being around a lot of people, He would go to a mountain and go pray. God is calling us to stay in a place of prayer, to stay in a posture of prayer, not to go and just follow the doctrines and the methods and the schemes of the world, because we're not in the same fight. We are fighting against things that are trying to take us out and to defile the name of the Lord and to try to keep people away from the kingdom of God. So you not wanting to pray is not anything light. The enemy knows if this person, if she gets on a regimen of prayer, if he gets on a regimen of prayer, and he gets on a regimen of pressing in and pressing through, even when he doesn't feel like it, even when she doesn't feel like it, so much breakthrough will happen just for him, and it will happen for the people that's connected to him or her, and it will happen for the people who they're called to. So this feeling of discouragement, this feeling of feeling down, feeling anxious, feeling overwhelmed, we got to bring it back to Jesus. First Peter 5 and 7 talks about casting all your cares. In the Amplified version, it talks about casting all your cares, your anxiety, your concerns, your worries on to Him. To cast means to throw something with force. Cast your burdens on the Lord because He cares for you. And then in Psalms 55 and 22, it talks about cast thy burden upon the Lord, and He shall sustain thee. You are in a season where there's transition. This is for somebody. A season where there's transition. And usually where there's transition, there's usually a lot of uncertainty. That's usually a place where God is maturing your faith. And also the place of transition, it's also the place where a lot of feelings come up. I feel this way because there's uncertainty. That's usually a time too where we start to retreat with our relationship with God. And I want to encourage you. I've been there. I've gone through these things a lot of times, and I may go through them again. But I want to encourage you to bring your discouragement, bring your tiredness, bring it all back to God. Proverbs talks about the name of the Lord being a strong tower, and the righteous being able to run into the tower or run into and be safe. Every feeling, every heaviness, everything, I can bring it back to God. Isaiah talks about Him giving us the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness. He also talks about giving us oil of joy for mourning. He also talks about giving us beauty for ashes. Everything that we're feeling, that we're fighting against, we have to recognize it's because the enemy wants us to stay out of a place of prayer. And I want to encourage you to go back to the feet of Jesus. Go back to your secret place. Go back to loving, spending time talking and crying out to God. And I guarantee you, God will start to show you the way. He will start to show you what's happening. And if he doesn't do it immediately, just know that he will answer you. Be encouraged today, guys. Go be great.